Hey, David.
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me. John Weber said he's waiting to be admitted.
Well, I'll have to admit everybody anyway. He must be under a different name.
Okay.
But we're gonna let everybody in right now anyway. He must be under a different name.
Bill's here.
Change our Chloe Sharp again.
Okay, Mayor. Everybody's in. That's here. It's 6:30.
Mayor's name.
Welcome, everyone, to the Mayor and Council meeting of August 25th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, if all you know about someone is the later stages of their life, you're missing out on a tremendous amount. Bill Dorsey is a great example of that. For far too many of us, he's that old guy you saw on Evergreen Avenue at the beach entrance. I've asked Fire Chief John Zeck to tell us much more about Bill Dorsey. John? John, you're gonna have to unmute yourself. Okay.
I got a new camera. I'm just learning how to do it, but thank you, Mayor. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about Bill. As we said at the eulogy last night, he's a 55-year member of the Bradley Beach Fire Department. And it's funny because, like you said, the more you see somebody, there are things that you don't know about him. After 42 years of knowing Bill, I found out that he was honorably discharged from the United States Army. Never spoke about being. He was one of the stalwarts of the fire company, though. We often say that if you could find somebody to help him write a book, he'd make a great historian for the borough of Bradley Beach. He could tell you where things were, when buildings burned down, what people lived on certain streets, and just on and on and on. He was a delight to sit and talk to. And he would catch the ear of anyone that went there just by telling those stories because they wanted to know more about Bradley Beach. As he got older, he became more sediment in what he was doing, not actually fighting fires, but supporting the firehouse.
For Sean's iPhone.
He became what we call a houseman, and the houseman takes care of supplies and all of that. And he did that very well.
Hey, John, take a break. Hey, if anyone, please mute your microphone, especially during this moment right now. Please mute your microphone. Okay, John, thank you.
And towards the later years now, he was more slower getting to places. I never knew a person that walked as much as he did. As the mayor said, you could see him walking all over town.
Emergency as his state braces for another night of violent.
Yeah. Finally, we're able to, and I'd like to thank Justin for this, for doing all the paperwork. A lot of work. To be able to get into the home. he was getting a little frail. He was 85 years old, still sharp as a tack, but he really needed somebody to look after him, to check in on him. He had several friends on his block. Jill, the crossing guard in the corner, who used to bring him peppermint treats. That's what he liked. He liked peppermints. And his neighbors who would check in on him regularly. And of course, the fire guys. Today was a sad day, and we want to thank Long Branch Fire Department for bringing the fire truck hearse down to give Bill a real send-off as a firefighter and taking him down to St. Catherine's Cemetery. It was a great turnout last night. I thank all the council people who were able to show up. I know it was a little early, but the COVID kind of put a kibosh on what we usually do as a service. So that was really appreciated, and all the members and out-of-town people that stopped by. I have, I'm going to read you something. There were 273 comments on Bill's passing. Most of the people's names I don't know, but I picked this one because it struck me as what Bill meant to the people who came to our town to go and enjoy our beach and enjoy the festivities here. And it's dated August 20th. And the family is the Grizzard family. Bill welcomed us to the beach for many years. He saw our son go from a sandy toddler to a young man with a passion for surfing. We referred to Bill's Gate as Bill's Beach, always remembering us by name. You feel special and worthy of remembering when somebody knows your name. Howard would light up if you brought him a cold drink. Bill was a kind, thoughtful. Bill, rest in peace. Kate, Jim, and James. And that pretty much sums up Bill's identity in this town. He was an icon and loved by all. He was an icon and loved by all. And we're really going to miss him. And we really appreciate everyone who helped get Bill where he needed to be in the fireman's home where he was in. We appreciate that. God bless him, and God bless you guys for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Chief. And if we could just have a short moment of remembrance and thanks for the life of Bill Dorsey. Thank you very much.
48-hour notice, as required under the Open Public Meetings Act, was emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Co-Star, and the Coaster on January the 9th of 2020.
I'll let you watch that.
On the bulletin board in the borough office, and that a copy has been filed with the borough clerk. Mr. Bennell? I see you there. Mr. Gubitosi?
Here.
If the little microphone symbol on the lower left of your picture is not crossed out in red, you're live and you're possibly interrupting the official business. And please mute that until such time the borough administrator actions prior to the election due to the vote by mail process for the general election. Depending on how this conversation goes, we may or may not take action at the end of the meeting, as there is a placeholder for possible action. Just a little background on this. I was approached by one of the candidates who's running for mayor, who said to me, well, in light of the fact that the mail-in ballots will be going out in early September, shouldn't we allow candidates to extend the 45 days when they can put up their political signs?
There's only 29 people tuned in. Yeah,
And
so it's not a big meeting.
And again, a reminder to mute your microphones, please. And I just passed that on to the borough administrator and to the borough attorney. Face value, I have no problem with it, but I will let others weigh in here as well.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say right up front that because I am a candidate, I am going to recuse. I don't want to influence anyone else's opinions.
Okay.
So I'd like to say something. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So, you know, each year around election time, some of our sign laws are ignored. We end up getting signs in public places, at least for the last 2 elections where I've run, not my signs, the signs of the other people. And on top of that, I think, we have sign problems with realtors and with contractors and with Airbnbers. And, in short, I get a decent amount of feedback about signs from the community. And none of that feedback says we need more signs. And none of that feedback says we need signs out for longer periods of time. It's quite the opposite. And I think, we're already coming into an election season where there's going to be more political signs in this town than you've ever seen, because we have Board of Ed elections that are competitive, and they're usually not. There's going to be that added to it. And I think my understanding is that the mail-in ballots are going out like mid to late September. So I thought I heard you say early September, but I think it's like later in September. So I for one, I'm okay with leaving this the way it is. Fixing our sign ordinance is something that's been on, my radar for a while. We've done other things, I think rightly so. It's in the other direction of limiting, the amount of signs and the times that signs can go out and things like that. So I'm okay with leaving this at the 45-day. That's just me. Welcome. I'd like to hear what the public has to say.
You are up next.
If I can chime in for a second, according to the county website, the mail-in ballots will be mailed on September 19th. That is also 45 days before the election. So in my mind, that gives us plenty of time gives the candidates plenty of time to do their politicking and get the signs up and have the election and pull them down and make them go away. So my general opinion is to leave it where it is for now as well.
And again, it's not a rebuttal, but the only thing there is that the receipt of that person's probably not going to wait really quickly. So I'll just put that out there.
I'm a little surprised that anybody even asked. Candidates should be judged on their merits, not on their signs. We don't need any more signs.
Okay, so the public is welcome to participate in this, but I'm not hearing any majority of elected officials support of this. So if we want to go through that process of hearing from the general public, we can. So Mr. Brown, if anyone would like to raise their hand about this item, they're welcome to at this time. We're going to bend the rules a little bit. We have public comment at item 9, but since the council president already put that out, I'll let folks.
Mr. Mayor, you said in your open that one of the mayoral candidates had made the request. Could you let the public know which one? Thank you. I concur with the balance of council that we have too many signs, and I've said it before in an open public forum. We do need more sign ordinances to curtail that. And
Bill, you're muted.
Bill, yeah.
With our current ordinance, it states 45 days. I personally feel that 45 days is more than enough time for any candidate to have his name put out there. With all the available means of social media and everything, all the politicians can go on Facebook, whatever. There's more than enough social media that's going to send the message out. The signs, with the predicted record-setting hurricanes that we're going to be having, I'd hate to see these signs flying all over the place and hurting someone. So, like I said, I think we should abide by our ordinance, 45 days.
Okay, so this here, this is referenced as ordinance 2020-15, but in the resolution list, 2020-15. I'm going to walk us through this one, please.
Sure. So I should actually defer to Councilman Gubitosi, who suggested many of these revisions to the ordinance. As far as my review is concerned, Councilman Gubitosi had these suggestions. I reviewed them to make sure they weren't preempted by state law, and because they particularly relate to your beachfront as a resort community. I found them to be more concise and not preempted. But in terms of their efficacy or how they would relate to Bradley Beach, I think I'll defer to the councilman because you guys live there.
So, Mr. Mayor, a number of residents had reached out to me and I believe other members of the council raising concerns about very large gatherings of people, 50, 60, 100 people on our board. That was appropriate. I did take the initiative to review the loitering ordinance that was on the books today. And in fact, it seemed a bit antiquated, proposed changes to get feedback from the public.
I just have a couple of comments. Parks and playground curfews, and what it says is and until 30 minutes after dusk, but not later than 8 p.m. I think those are a little bit too restrictive. There's an awful lot of people that exercise early in the morning. 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning this time of year when the sun comes up, and understanding the concern about people staying, well, it is light after 8 p.m.
Tim, but did that part only refer to playgrounds, or was that playgrounds and parks?
It says public, keep people outside exercising more and inside playing video games less.
People can address these with a call to the police department, and what the police department's take is on whether or not this additional tool is necessary.
Thank you, Mayor. So basically, first and foremost, we just want to stress, and I know the chief has had conversations with, the governing body as well as the general public. If you see something and it's bothering you, you need to call the police. We welcome that. If you don't want to, you can remain anonymous. Obviously, we prefer that you do leave your name so that we have any follow-up questions, or if we arrive and there's nobody there, we can't find it, or the information was miscommunicated to us, we can, get back some fun. Anything, we have heard these stories of these large gatherings throughout all throughout the week. So we're not saying that of these large gatherings throughout throughout the week. So we're not saying that it didn't happen. We're seeing every day, all day long, all week long. We have, between the regular ordinances and the disorderly person statutes, we have all sorts of means to address these violations, whether it's noise, alcohol, loitering, gathering, disorderly, public nuisance. There's lots of things that we can do. I know there was a lot of talk about the difference between the beach being closed and the boardwalk being closed. The beach being closed is done for some pretty specific reasons. At night, obviously it's dark, and between midnight and 5 a.m., we have the DPW does their fantastic job of maintaining the beach. They have heavy equipment down there, and it's very difficult to see because there's no lighting. So people that are sitting around or lying around or walking around, they're at risk of being injured by these machines or disrupting this maintenance. And we have had some close calls in that nature in the past. And so that's always a concern. They decide to go swimming. It's not safe. We can't see the water. We can't see the beach from Main Street or from the foot patrols on the boardwalk. So it entails monitoring that, entails driving on the beach, which again can prove some difficulty. It is done. It's done frequently. It's done all night. But that's one of the reasons why the beachfront is closed. Is it's a safety issue. It's a maintenance issue. For that time frame. All night long, the patrols can see anything that occurs on the boardwalk, whether it's in one of the gazebos, on the boardwalks, on the pavers, on the grass areas, on the curb line. So that's very easy to see from just the routine patrols, and we do address them whenever we can or whenever needed. So we just want to basically just stress that there are differences as to why the beach is closed. It's easier for them to hide in the dunes or under the sand, walk in the middle of the night, or traveling from one place to another. And again, if they stop or they're doing something or if they're being disruptive, call us. We would love to respond and address those in real time. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something real quick. Since this first came up, I take a ride every night, various times. A little bit more garbage in front of the gazebo and senior tent than I normally see. But I haven't noticed anything extreme. Now, my window when I'm down there is very short. The people who live, I'm sure, enjoy. Pretty much nailed it. Those guys are out there all the time. If this was something that was regular, they would know it.
I think, Officer Browning, one of the things we were trying to do was provide greater clarity for our police force to say, if it's not disorderly conduct, but it's a large gathering impeding the passage of others, it wasn't clear to us that there was in fact clarity in our ordinance to enable the police to take action. If it wasn't disorderly, if it was just a large group of people that have decided to set up a picnic in the gazebo for 4 hours, is that appropriate? You know, we have residents saying if it's to have access to that space, and if a large group of people comes down and takes over and they're not disorderly, and there may not be an opportunity to assess the degree of hygiene.
Yeah, again, like I said, it's not that we're opposed to any changes. It just, we want to make it clear that it's not that it's 100% necessary, because there are several statutes just under general disorderly conduct. You know, doesn't necessarily need to be loud and tumultuous. There's other factors that go in if you're causing any kind of inconvenience to the public. So if I have a gathering of people and it's disruptive and inconvenience to you, or if I'm on the side of the street with somebody engaging in a conversation and they're raising their voice and causing a commotion, and you're walking your dog and you stop to take interest in that, that's technically what the statute is. You're drawing the attention and disrupting the public. But again, we have the general public nuisance, we have noise, depending on what they have. You know, usually we have found though that when we do address these complaints, they're usually compliant. You know, if we see a large gathering and we say, let's problem, if there is a problem and it raises to a dispute or a confrontation, we can easily address that with summonses. You know, and in extreme circumstances, if we have to make an arrest, we can. You know, we try to just encourage compliance with New Jersey statutes that, you know, outside of us, that, you know, if you see something, call something. And that helps strengthen if there is a call, because now we can, you know, respond to this call and explain, you know, disruption. You know, if there's 5 or 6 people sitting there and they've got loud music, you know, wherever it is, and nobody's calling on it, it's hard for us to proactively just say, hey, your music is bothering people, because we don't have a complaining party. You know, so thinking along those lines, if it's bothering you, we want you to tell us so we can come address
it. And I think based on what you're sharing with us, and I appreciate your perspectives, and I echo them, I think our residents should feel very comfortable calling the person here. It's really to add clarity for the police to help enforce some of the concerns that arise at the, you know, in this case at the boardwalk. But it could be in parks, it could be in other public property areas.
Right, and that's why we defer to the legal counsel, the borough attorney, and you guys. We just wanted to make sure that the perspective that there are ways that's, you know, in the works that this stuff can be addressed.
So I did hear what Detective Lieutenant Browning said, but the storm ordinance.
On the
Mr. Mayor, would it be inappropriate to ask to give the public a chance to comment on the prior workshop?
I mean, that's what a workshop is.
Okay, item C is an ordinance supplementing the borough's revised general ordinance, a proposed ordinance would prohibit the future planting and recreational effort we're looking at.
Mr. Mayor, we should really, you know, make a plan for that, or because that is key. I agree. I kind of thought you had a botany degree, so
we need a primer with photographs on what each of these looks like, because there may be some of these in my backyard right now that I don't know. Agenda, but I will allow myself and Council Weber and anybody else that wants to work with us in terms of what an interim educational effort might be prior to introduction. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's now is the time for item 7, which is the approval of the minutes from the August 11th.
Mr. Benel?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose,
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith,
Yes, and item 8, the administrator's report, Mr.
The borough is considering tonight. This means that Monday through Friday, there will be no cost to enter the beach after follow its rough surf management procedures. And the Borough Bradley Beach Police Department and OEM will monitor the beaches, close certain ones down if necessary, but swimming will be allowed unless an imminent storm or danger exists. Signs and flags will be posted to notify beachgoers and swimmers of the current conditions of the various beaches. Also, since there will be no lifeguards on duty Monday through Fridays, the chief lifeguard is assembling a rapid response team that will be able to swiftly go into action and respond if there is a. During Saturdays and Sundays, there will be the normal beach operation. There will be the normal fees in effect. The beach manager, lifeguards, gate guards, and cashiers will all be on duty, and the borough will continue to honor season badges, and the sale of daily badges will continue and remain low and sold through VIP. The borough is planning and preparing to apply for the State of New Jersey Department of Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program. It is a grant we'll be applying for under the Community Improvement Activities, specifically streetscaping and corridor landscaping along Main Street. This will coincide with the recent virtual walkable community activity that took place, and it will enhance approximately 4 blocks of our Main Street streetscape with pavers, concrete curb, handicap ramps, crosswalks, street furniture, and lighting. The grant application is estimated to be $1 million. Mr. Mayor, Council, public, that is my administrator's report for this evening. Thank you.
Any council questions for the borough administrator?
Yes, Mr. Brown, just a couple of quick clarifying questions regarding the resolution 2020-214. We're talking about extending the beach access on weekends, especially where we'll have lifeguards. Will we also therefore have badged and guards, the gate guards?
That'll only be on the weekends.
On the weekends. And will we, I know we have other business to attend to today that addresses having our beach managers extending their pay for that period. Will we be extending the pay then for the other personnel?
Yes. The lifeguards were supposed to be on there.
I know the lifeguard rates are up there. I wasn't sure about the period of time.
Yeah, everything should be till September 30th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And, I just thought of something as well. So since we're essentially extending the town's summer season, are we extending the same to the concessions? Are they going to continue to operate? I don't know if they have had any time limits. I think the surf concession didn't go through the entire month of September. Are we, by doing what we're going to do, are we going to allow them to continue through the month of September? And if so, are we going to ask for basically more money from them because they're doing a longer amount of time?
I think I would have to take a look at everybody's agreement. And Council President, I did see your email, but I wasn't able to, I was on vacation, so I was able to prepare anything for this meeting. But I do need to speak to Mr. Cannon as well to see what we need to do for that. We may have to do a retroactive resolution, in fact, if that's what we're going to do.
Okay, if that's okay to do, I think they're interested. I also think that they would want to be extended to the end of the month if the rest of the town is. So thank you.
Yeah, my personal opinion would that the borough should do that.
Mr. Brown, one other question. I know we include in here a reference to, among other things, DPW, that is contingent on the weather. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. If we get a storm that comes in and Office of Emergency Management says that we need to move the beach lockers, once they get moved, it's going to be very difficult to move them back out there again in that short period of time. So if we do get a major storm, then they'll probably be removed for the season at that point.
And I wonder if that might be something we would add just as a clarifier in this resolution, just subject to storm conditions for the beach lockers.
That's fine with me. I'll defer to Greg. If he's okay, I'm good with it.
Well, I guess the other question I have is that with the last weekend is the 26th and 27th. The reality is that most people will be emptying their lockers that weekend. And I want to try to give DPW, assuming we have normal weather this in the month of September, what is the difference between the 27th and the 30th with regards to the extension on this resolution, David? Because is Monday, the 28th, 29th, and 30th are, for all intents and purposes, just like October 1st and 2nd, correct?
True. I think we just picked the end date of September 30th.
Well, I mean, the 20th of September, I believe, is Yom Kippur, so there might not be school for some people.
Okay, to get some help to DPW here.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, real quick, if I may. Is this consistent with what the other towns are doing with their beaches?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And during the week when there's no paid access, OEM and the police department will be keeping an eye on social distancing as they did in the spring before beach badges?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, David. Now is the time for public comments on any agenda items only. There's also time at the end of the meeting for anything else you'd like to bring towards mayor and council. David?
First up is Bill Shook.
Second. All right. Basically, I'd like to talk about the ordinance 2020-16, the bamboo and invasive plants. But has anyone on the council actually looked at some of the benefits from one of these other plants? Take, for instance, the Japanese knotweed that John was discussing. I don't know if anyone knows, but it has been proven by studies that the high antioxidants and anti-inflammatory it produces makes this plant effective to prevent cancer. Cancer, people. It can also help those who already have breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, and so on. Several of the other health benefits of this plant include the ability to prevent and treat cognitive disorders, improve heart, reduce gastrointestinal distress, and lower blood pressure. Believe it. It's very edible, this plant. This plant is also known to maintain blood sugar levels, which can be important to protect the body from diabetes, as well as control the blood sugar. It will control it. Some other facts about the Japanese knotweed, it helps the, excuse me? Oh, it helps the detoxification of the liver, reduces cholesterol. I could go on and on about this plant. Just Google the health benefits of a Japanese knotweed. Google it. I mean, you all have your phones available. It's no big deal. I would hope that after looking at this, that the mayor and council will make an educated decision and remove this from the list. It's a healthy thing. I, for one, grow and consume this plant in its raw state, as well as others. You know, Japanese knotweed gets no respect. Nearly everywhere it grows, it's listed as a prolific, noxious, invasive, dangerous, bad to the world. The sky is falling down weed, but yet it's an edible plant that helps the human race. It's the young stems, and they look like the asparagus plant, but it's eaten raw, or you can even cook it if you want. It's basically a tart, sour apple flavor. You can make all kinds of things with it. And like I said, I just hope that the mayor and council look into this plant and allow it to be grown.
David?
Next, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question about 2216, establishing the new petty cash fund. Is Ms. Rice on the call?
I believe she is.
I'm here.
Hi, Ms. Rice. Thank you. Could you describe what this is about?
Probably about 2 weeks ago or so, I received an email, and the fire company would like to establish a petty cash fund. We did not have one that was applicable to the fire company. So in order to establish a petty cash fund for them, it requires a resolution. The resolution will have to be sent to the state. And of course, I'll go over with any fire company representatives the proper use of a petty cash fund for their department.
So this is just for the fire company?
This is just for the fire company.
And how many other petty cash funds do we have in the borough?
I believe there are 3.
And those would be for?
I believe the police department has one, the clerk's office would have one, and off the top of my head, I don't remember what the third one is, but I could certainly get that information for you.
Oh, okay. I would appreciate that. And are the ledgers for those available through Oprah?
So generally, the way that petty cash funds work is that the money would be distributed to the department head, the custodian of the cash fund, at the beginning of the year. They can make expenditures. The state, says that an expenditure for petty cash can't exceed $50, and there's certain rules regarding the use of that. When they want to replenish that petty cash, they're required to submit some receipts to the finance department. And then, we would add up the receipts and we would create a new voucher to replenish the petty cash. So say it's $100, by mid-August, they've spent 80, they're asking for me to replenish it. I'm going to ask for $80 worth of receipts. I'll issue them the $80 back. They'll be whole again. The thing with petty cash funds is that at the end of the year, it is required to be turned over in whole to me, to the finance officer at the end of the year.
And so you do the audit on the receipts then? That's your?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great.
Yes.
And thank you so much, Ms. Rice. I appreciate that. And Mayor, I do want to compliment you on this this work session where you're doing 3 different proposed ordinances. It's very refreshing. And I like the fact that we're being proactive with the old ordinances. This is a wonderful exercise to go through. We have the council people, we have Officer Browning. This is the way things get done, and it's very refreshing. I wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you. David?
If I could just interject real quick, please, Mr. Brown. Mr. Cohen, just some background. Chief Zeck approached me about establishing a petty cash fund for the police department because of just low-cost consumables that they need, batteries, things along those lines, cleaners and whatnot, that, are just such a low dollar level that going through the purchasing manual that we just enacted would have been far more burdensome for the low cost level of these items. So that's why this is here today.
Oh, that makes total sense, Councilman. I mean, it just didn't specify fire company on the agenda. So my point was, which one was it? But thank you very much for clarifying.
Hi, thank you. Just a quick question or two about the invasive species ordinance. Can you tell me where we're heading in terms of inspections, enforcement, violations, those things?
I don't have this draft ordinance memorized, but I believe if somebody complained and said, there's bamboo coming into my property from my neighbor's yard, then somebody would go out and inspect that, code enforcement person, I would imagine. And if said situation was found to be true, we would let them know what their responsibility is under the ordinance. And again, it doesn't say that you have to remove it. It says that you have to take steps to contain it. And it's a little more familiar, so let me know if I got that right, Mr. Cannon.
Yes, that's correct. There's a 30-day notice to remediate. So, and like I said, it doesn't require complete removal. There's a buffer zone, which is basically 5 feet from the property. So, I mean, most of the way this happened in Belmar when I was the borough attorney was someone would complain that the bamboo came under their fence, and then the code enforcement officer would go out and check to see if it was within 5 feet of the property line. And the person would have to put metal sheeting around it to keep it contained within that area. That was generally how it occurred. And as I can recall, I don't think we ever ended up finding anyone because it took, they had, and we extended the 30 days if they were taking good faith efforts or had a true contractor scheduled. And that worked pretty decently. That was how this ordinance was written as well, and how I envision it working here.
Okay, thank you.
Dana?
No other electronic hands, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. We have a request from Clean Ocean Action to conduct a modified, safe, and socially distanced fall beach sweep on Saturday, October 24th, 2020, from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. I'll make a motion to let me make a motion to approve that request as submitted from Clean Ocean Action. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell? Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. The consent agenda includes the following items. 2020-210 is the bill list. 2020-211 is the approval of the annual renewal of alcoholic beverage liquor license for KDK of Bradley LLC. Just so you know, that's the bowling alley. 2020-212 is a wage adjustment approval of longevity for the 2020 seasonal lifeguards. And 2020-213, authorizing a refund to Kelly Petrillo for the June craft fair. Would anyone like any of these voted out separately? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second,
Mr. Bennell?
yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Resolutions. The first is 2020-214, which is the aforementioned approval to extend the specific period of time of the beachfront bathing facilities. Make a motion to approve that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad? And Mr. Gubatose, sorry.
I was going to vote yes anyway. Thank
Sorry.
you.
Sorry about that.
Resolution 2020-215 is the approval to extend the salary period for the beach supervisor and assistant beach supervisor for the month of September. Make a motion to approve that resolution. Is there a second?
Second,
Mr. Bennell?
yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
A new petty cash fund for the Bradley Beach Fire Company, and make a motion to approve that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bennell?
Yes.
Mr. Gubatose?
Yes.
Mr. Sexsmith?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Engelstad?
Yes. Now it's time for Mayor and Council reports. Council President Weber.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. First, my heart goes out to the fire department, we already heard about Bill Dorsey's life. But I know it's a long time to be involved with anything. So I know a lot of the members of the department are affected. So heart goes out to them. Regarding events around town, I appreciate that the town has continued to have smaller, socially distant events, but I appreciate that we're doing them nonetheless, just to keep that sense of normalcy going. On the Shade Tree Commission front, they're just sort of getting to know each other online, actually only swapping contact information, and so they're getting ready to gear up for initial meetings. But I think we're already going to have some personnel changes, which I will get to the administration before the next meeting. On the issue of code enforcement, I'm going to work through the borough administrator to make sure that because of what the discussion about political signs, and we're not going to change what we have. Again, we're going to stick with the 45 days. I'm going to make sure that they're addressed. There's a couple around town, and let's just make sure these people are aware that it's September 19th or so. It's 45 days. So I'll work through the administrator to make sure that code enforcement understands that. On the beach, obviously, we just voted to extend our summer through September. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be like a local summer that we all look forward to. I think our beaches are going to be very well used on the weekends, at least in September, perhaps even crowded. So I would ask everybody to continue to display the patience and a little bit of humility that we've all displayed this summer, because I think the rest of the state is going to continue to be interested in coming to our town in September, at least on the weekends. And just one comment on the invasive species. If anyone in town is found to be growing Japanese knotweed for medicinal reasons, I would be happy to add a line to that ordinance that allows people to grow it for a certain amount on their property for their own personal consumption. And that's the extent of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Sexsmith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see. We'll start with the police department. Let me find them first. The police responded to a reported credit card fraud and would like to take the opportunity to remind the public to never give out personal information to solicitors or over the phone. Again, most reputable companies will never ask you for that personal information over the phone. It's just a good reminder on their part. There was also an unlocked bicycle that was stolen and subsequently recovered a short time later, and they also investigated, identified, and arrested a subject in a prior assault case. For the fire department, their interim report for the month is the first aid squad has so far responded to a total of 32 requests for medical services and 21 fire calls for a total of 53. Fire company responded to 21 requests for service, 6 which are still involving damage from the storm. For example, downed wires, fires involving trees, etc. There were 6 gas leak calls and 9 general alarm calls. There were no COVID-19 calls this month. I would also like to reach out beyond our department and thank the Long Branch Fire Department for providing Mr. Dorsey the farewell that he deserved with the fire hearse. And I would also like to thank the Pine Brook Community Hose Company from the Tinton Falls Fire Department, who covered our fire department's duty during the services last night and today, so that they could attend their former. End of my report. Thank you.
Councilmember Gubitosi.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to reference the fact that for our finance committee, we are reviewing trust accounts, and our CFO has provided the council with a list of 29 trusts that have been established over the years, some of them dating back a few decades. And our CFO is going to coordinate an effort to evaluate which of those trusts should be dissolved, which ones should be still active, and are they appropriately funded if they should be active, and potentially look into establishing new trusts to the extent we need them. But this is something that probably hasn't been given the attention in the next few weeks. We will also be at least making an effort to evaluate the potential for refinancing long-term debt for the borough. Not certain that will make sense for us, not certain that will generate sufficient savings to make the exercise worthwhile. But once again, working with our CFO and some experts that she has available to her, we will be evaluating that over the next month or so. Also, the Maritime Forest, I've mentioned this periodically. Phase 3 is, I'm told, fully funded. In total, there's an expectation that we'll spend, not we, but the renovations will cost about $10,000. All of that will be funded by either contributions that are now in hand, about 5,000 plus in cash, and another 5,000 in kind services and or free planting. So a total of a $10,000 value of an upgrade to the Maritime Forest. And we have Captain Al Majeski and Mr. Jim Shishius to thank for their ongoing efforts to secure that support for us. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Councilmember Bonnell?
I'd like to thank Bill, and may he rest in peace. The only other thing I have tonight is it's come to my attention in the last 24 hours that the outdoor approvals for the establishments that are operating right now are due to expire on the 30th of September. And I'd like to make an effort this week to make sure that they have the opportunity to continue to operate.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. No, I had a similar one, so thank you for bringing that up. I expect that we'll do that at the first meeting in September. Over the past few years, the Bradley Beach Quality of Life Committee has made a real tangible impact on both the look of the borough and the organizational aspects of code enforcement. So with our ongoing staffing adjustments in code enforcement and with the increased focus of our borough administrator, there's a growth almost obsolete because determination is made with regards to its future or possibly a refocusing of their abundant talents. The other item is I would like to ask that we have a workshop item at the next meeting on the topic of beachfront playground improvement. With unfortunately the Bradley Beach Fitness Center is still closed. I walk a lot every morning, and which that walk can take me from Belmar to Asbury. And our playgrounds on the beachfront are nowhere near the caliber of other towns. We market ourselves. Make that at a workshop agenda item for the first meeting in September to see financially and operationally what our options might be to look into some improvements on the beachfront playground. That's all I have. Now it's time for public comments. And again, I'll ask our borough administrator to monitor that, please.
L. Donnelly.
Hi, this is Linda Donnelly, 803 805 Ocean Avenue. I was just wondering what the status is on the proposed salt restaurant in the defunct Pump House building and whether a traffic and parking study has been done to date. And will the borough be paying for that, and any other information that you might have for us?
Mr. Cannon, do you want to update us on that, please?
Sure. So with respect to the contract side, we have a meeting scheduled with the respondent and their attorney. And on the litigation side, we had a case management conference with Judge Sheedy in Freehold. Well, we did it remotely, but Judge Sheedy was in Freehold. We did that yesterday. And schedule has been set to put the information together for the judge to make a decision in the borough's process in awarding that concession. And so we continue to move forward as council members have espoused here before. And on the other side, the objectors have legitimate concerns as well, and we're addressing those through the litigation. So that's where we stand at this point. No studies have been conducted at this point, and the borough hasn't paid for any studies at this point. So that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you. And will
So, I mean, to the extent that, I just shared information with you about the status on both sides. To to the extent things we talk about are negotiations or contractual, we won't be able to share that. As I've shared, as I've mentioned to the public here before on several occasions. But to the extent that information is public, like the status, like you just asked about, I mean, that's on the court's docket. This is the vehicle. The council members have shared their views on several occasions, and I'm aware that this is as the attorney, that this is a very publicly important project, and allowed them a little more leeway in doing that when I maybe ordinarily wouldn't have. So this is the vehicle by which we'll share it.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is Mary Ann Spillman.
Thank you, David. I understand there's litigation and that the borough is still pursuing. Why is the borough going as far as litigating this when people don't want it?
I assume that question falls to me, Mayor?
Yes, please.
I mean, wasn't the borough's choice to litigate it? We're the defendant. So plaintiffs filed a lawsuit against the borough. And so we are dealing with that as we do with all lawsuits.
But you're defending this when we don't want it. I'm not understanding that.
Well, the borough is a necessary party in that it's our property, but we're not necessarily litigating.
Greg, Greg, you got muted. Greg, you're muted.
Oh, sorry about that. So you have, so I mean, we're a necessary party because it's our property, and so we have no choice but to participate. But in many senses, the positions are being taken by the objectors and the respondent, and I mean, we really have no choice but to participate. It's not really a defense or prosecution in that sense.
But you're still pursuing it. Why can't it just be dropped as we've requested?
Well, because the borough has obligations to parties other than just the plaintiff. And so the borough doesn't have that option. The plaintiffs have the option to drop the lawsuit, but as defendants, we do not have that. We do not have that option procedurally.
Thank you. David?
Next up is Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Chief Zeck for his wonderful presentation about Mr. Dorsey. That was very heartfelt and very DOT grant. You mentioned that it was $1 million grant. Is that a matching grant or is it just a?
No, it's not matching.
It's not. Okay, that's great. You referenced 4 blocks, so it wouldn't be the entire Main Street. It would just be.
Yep.
Has that been? Has that been delineated?
No, we're still determining that. I had a meeting today with the engineer, but it looks like estimating $1 million.
Yeah.
So nothing's set in stone yet. It's not even due till November 24th. We're way ahead of the game on this one.
I understand, but thanks for getting in the game.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. And I had a question for Miss Rice again. I was kind of surprised to hear this 29 trust accounts. I was wondering, Miss Rice, what would be reasonable and customary for a community of our size in terms of the number of trust accounts that we should have and how they should be administered?
I don't necessarily think that the number is of concern. More of concern for me is the fact that some of these trust accounts were established for specific reasons that no longer exist. One of them on the list is for 125th anniversary trust account set up anymore. So I think that, just the goal is to review the existing trust accounts, find out which ones are, still applicable and, then move on from there.
And would one of these trust accounts be for Sylvan Lake or Fletcher Lake? I mean, is that kind of the reason that we would have these? I know they've mentioned that they had trust accounts.
Yes, I think that I think Sylvan Lake is on there. I know that there was an application several years ago for some parking revenue along Sylvan Lake to be dedicated to trust. The state actually denied that request. So again, I think that in the governing body reviewing this list, and I will be educated too as to, the applicability of all of these trust accounts.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your diligence. Thank you very much, Ms. Rice. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. David?
Next, Deborah Hatkins.
Hello, Deborah Hatkins, 807 Ocean Avenue. I'm again talking about the restaurant, and there are over 60 signatures against this restaurant. And I really hope that you can get out of it and protect our property and the value of our property and our quality of life. Right now I see, and I'm home all day working from home, I see big tractor trailers and just delivering food to the little restaurant or that hula bowl or whatever it is called down there. I don't want to see tractor trailers on top of the 18 flags on the golf course with the lights and all the traffic. I see a cop in Avon Pavilion. I don't want to see a cop there. I don't want to see people smoking. I don't want to smell the smoke. And I'm very upset that I sold everything to come down here with my emphysema to be able to smell and look at this across the street when I wanted to see the ocean.
Yes, I have a question. Ms. Rice, you said that the trust fund for Sylvan Lake, the monies from the parking, the state does not allow us to do that?
Yes, application for that trust fund was sent to the state, and the state actually denied the use of that trust fund.
So where's all this money been going that the mayor and council allocated for Sylvan Lake from the use of those meters?
It's part of the beach utility operating budget.
Wow. That was supposed to be used strictly for Sylvan Lake. That was the intent, and that's why the meters were placed over there. So
The state
I never heard of that one.
state said that that was not the proper use of a trust fund.
So it's being used for beach revenue. Meanwhile, all this money that was supposed to be used for Sylvan Lake is being used for beach revenue. I think we should pull that money back and allocate something else so that we could do something.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why we're looking to review all of the trust funds.
Yeah.
Do we know how much money we've already used from the Sylvan Lake to the beachfront? Do we have a record of that?
It would take some doing, as I said, the trust fund was never properly established, so there was no vehicle to kind of track that money separately from any other revenue that came into the beach utility.
Unbelievable. All right, thank you.
Just for clarification, I'm hard pressed to think of any request from either the Sylvan Lake Committee or the residents in that area that have been denied by mayor and council. So it's Sylvan Lake has been addressed financially over the years. So David?
That's it, Mayor. No more electronic hands.
Yeah, Mr.
No.
Mayor, I'd
Yes,
like to just follow up really quickly on Mr. Shuck's comments. Mr. Shuck, as you're probably aware, I'm the liaison to the Sylvan Lake Commission, and I have been working pretty closely with Ann Polity and a few others, not only on the restoration project, which we've talked about, but also trying to understand the funding and the trust structure, that people believed was in place a number of years ago. Thanks to Ms. Rice, went back through our history a few years back at least to discover that while the application was made to establish the trust, it was not approved, and apparently nothing further was done. So if it makes you feel any better at all, we are actively looking at that. In fact, that's one of the reasons that triggered this review of the existing trusts, was specifically trying to understand, I was trying to understand what was going on with Sylvan Lake. So more to come on that, but we do have earmarked about $100,000 as a reserve that is not protected, that is not truly dedicated to Sylvan Lake, but there is about $100,000 of a reserve in our financial statements that is, I'll call it earmarked Sylvan Lake. But we want to make sure we create some sort of protection for future dollars. And that's something that, again, I've been working with the commission and recently pulled in Ms. Rice to help us figure out a better solution.
And what about the chairperson of the Sylvan Lake Commission, Kathy McCormick?
No, it's actually Ann Polity.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yep, and she is involved. And again, this is Bradley Beach only, of course. Sylvan Lake Commission includes Avon representatives.
No, that, like you said, it should be strictly Bradley Beach side. It has nothing to do with Avon side.
As the mayor said, for the most part, funding that's been requested by Sylvan Lake, my understanding is it's been made available to them, although there's at least one situation, it was a relatively small one, where they weren't able to access funds. So we want to make sure, I should say, as their liaison, I would like to make sure, I haven't talked about this with the council yet, that there are better protections in place going forward. And that's why Ms. Rice has been pulled in to help us.
All right, thank you for looking into it.
David?
No more electronic hands, man.
Yeah, I'll just close with, every day I get an email from Monmouth County. I guess I can't say the word freeholder anymore, but our leadership in Monmouth County. And the latest daily number of additional cases of COVID for August 25th was 22 in the entire county. So we should all pat ourselves on the back for everything that everybody's doing right, not just in Bradley. Complacent on this. We've seen too many examples, not just the United States, but all across the world, how this can flare back up. And just to encourage everyone to keep doing the right thing. The numbers in Bradley Beach have been very, very minimal in terms of through this entire 6-month period. I believe the current number is at 74 for Bradley Beach, which is similar or less than other towns our size. So keep up the great work, be safe, look out for each other. So the things that we do to keep ourselves and each other safe should not end on Labor Day as well. So that's all I wanted to.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Yep.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks very much. See you, everybody.